Happy Thursday, April 15th, 2021. I wanted to remind everybody, I should have done it sooner, but I got reminded today, so I'm reminding you, hey, you need to sign up for SAT. Sign up for SAT, and you can take the test in a couple of weeks. You have to sign up by Sunday. If there's any chance that you might want to go to college, you definitely want to take care of it now, because it's free. The school pays for it. You can come and take it during school and not have to worry about it. If you go to the College Board website and sign up on your own, you're going to have to pay like 40, 50 bucks. But because the school is administering it, you're going to save that money. You can do it during school. A lot of people come on Saturdays and take the test. Instead of doing it on a Saturday, you can do it on a school day. That is a bargain you cannot pass up. If you might somehow possibly go to college, you definitely want to take the SAT and invest that time in yourself. There's also free study on Khan Academy on YouTube and other free stuff that you can just Google and find out about. Prep a little bit, take the test. And if you don't do great, well, awesome, you're juniors. Take it again next year after you've practiced some, and then your score will be even higher. So keep that in mind. It's a great option. For today, we're going to listen, use our imagination, and focus on the clarity and coherence of a speaker's message. And then the impact, thinking about the impact of the speaker's use of diction and syntax. And I know you've heard these words before, but we're going to talk about that a little bit before we get started, so we'll be reminded of them. And then, of course, that mindset, I'm in a bad mood, I'm in a lazy mood, I'm tired, good, suffer. And we have that mindset, I'm going to do the work now, regardless of how I feel. I will read and use riddle skills to create my own understanding and meaning so that I grow my ability to analyze and respond to literature. And so many of you have gotten really good at it. When we did that analysis essay on the first draft, you focused more on the how cool the character is instead of how cool the writer is to make that character. And a lot of us made that mental leap. And on our final draft, it really, really improved. So we're going to continue that way of thinking, of analyzing and responding to literature. And for our close, this is our graded discussion. How did the poet's use of diction or syntax, you can pick one, whichever one you think you want to focus on, contribute to the effectiveness of the poem? So it's going to be fun, and I think you're going to really like the poems. Maybe like is the wrong word. You're going to really respond to them because they are passionate poems, powerful poems. Anyway, before we do anything else, let's do our positive affirmations so we can be positive on purpose. Those of us in the classroom, come on, let's get that thumb up. We can do it. And what are you? I'm strong, confident, and successful. Yes, we are. And then come on, let's grab that barbell. How do you feel about getting work done? I love getting work done. And how do we feel about schoolwork? The harder I work, the stronger I become. Absolutely. And a little Carvajal comedy. Did you know that Cardi B has a sister who is a personal trainer? Yeah, Cardi B, personal trainer, her sister. Her name is Cardio. Get it? Cardio, personal trainer. Yeah, no, that's dumb. I can't help it. Her sister's name is Cardio. Patrick is just disgusted. He's just like, good God, Carvajal. I don't blame him. He's a good person. All right. So for today, we're going to be talking about, once again, diction. And if you remember, if you think about it, we've talked about this a lot last semester. Diction is the word choice, and the word choice creates the voice of the character, the voice of the narrator. It also affects the tone. Is this a happy piece, a sad piece, an exciting piece? Is this patriotic? Is this angry? You can also, of course, by your word choice, create a rhythm and create rhyme. So writers use words that have the right connotation, and that's the important thing about diction, right? Understanding that you want people to respond emotionally a certain way, you use words that have those emotional meaning and connection. We're talking about connotation, right? It's the meaning that you have from your own personal experiences. Like I always talk about the word father, right? If you have a great relationship with dad, you'd have very different connotations than somebody else who, dad was never around, and when he was, all he did was yell. The connotations can be personal. Of course, sometimes there are universal connotations, and we'll be looking at some of that in the poetry that we read here in a little bit. But you'll get my point, right? So who's the character supposed to be? Who's the audience I'm writing for? Which would I use? It all depends, doesn't it? If I'm angry, am I going to say I'm pissed? I'm furious? I'm livid, right? If you're pissed, this is just an average, probably a younger person, right? I'm furious, maybe somebody middle-aged, and then I'm livid, some kind of college professor or something that likes to use fancy words. It all depends on the point you're trying to make. Remember syntax. Syntax is the word order. And when you're playing with syntax, you're changing the order of the word because you want it to sound a different way. You want it to rhyme a different way. And rappers and slam poets are awesome at this. They don't come out and say, yeah, I study syntax. But you change the word order and it changes the way it sounds. So like this one, I love you. So what we gonna do? Okay, they rhymed you and do. But maybe you don't want to do that rhyme because that's too obvious. Well, you I love. You are a gift from God above. You just changed it up. So anytime, if you want to grab people's attention, you can flip around the word order, and it makes a difference in the way it sounds. It makes a difference in the way people hear it. And of course, when you're working on those rhymes, not every line needs to rhyme, right? But when it does, it has a sound to it that grabs you. So it's something to really think about. So that's our little review there for diction and for syntax. Remember, diction is the word choice. Syntax is the word order. And they're both powerful ways to use in poetry and in fiction as well. So be thinking about that. Before we look at the poems that we're going to be discussing, I wanted us to see Amanda Gorman's poem. I changed my mind. I'm going to use her presidential poem. Let me switch this. When she spoke at President Biden's inauguration, she really captured the hearts of the world because of the incredible diction she used, and then the way she played with syntax, and of course the message she had was just wonderful. So we're going to go ahead and watch this together. I hope you enjoy it. If you've never seen it before, I think you really enjoy it. If you've seen it before, it'll be good for you to see it again. So if you're at home, be sure you put your phone away, suffer, pay attention. You're a good person. Here in the classroom, yep, we're all paying attention. We're good people. So look how she wrote this. The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We braved the belly of the beast. We learned that quiet isn't always peace. Norms and notion of what just isn't always justice, right? And yet the dawn is ours. The dawn is ours. She could have said the morning is ours. The morning belongs to us. No, she's talking about the dawn. She could have said things aren't always right. No. She said isn't always justice, right? Because of that tone. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed. She could have said somehow we suffered. Life sucked. No. She is having this tone purposefully, right? So you can click on all of these things, right, to think about it. A nation that isn't broken but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where, I love this, a skinny black girl raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president. Woo! Only to find herself reciting for one. Yes, we are far from polished and pristine. Look at those words. She could have just said, we ain't great yet. We ain't all done. But once again, she continued to forge this tone and the power of her speech by the diction and the syntax. So if you were using this poem, well, what would you pick? Would you focus on the diction? Would you focus on the syntax? Is there a right answer? There's no right answer. Whatever you pick is fine, right? Because we're using riddle skills to come up with it, riddle skills to formulate our answer. And Patrick's answer may be very different from Nevaeh's. So what? They're not right, they're not wrong. But if you're thinking, you're analyzing, you're going to come up with something good and interesting. So keep that in mind. Okay, so the two poems that I have for us, no, not there. Where do I have it? Here it is. The two poems I have for us are powerful poems, and they are disturbing. They really make you think. So if offend anybody, I apologize. You can choose from one of the two to write your analysis for. Grading's pretty standard for me. It's easy to get 100. Once you hear the poems, you'll know what I mean. They are powerful. Everybody in class has their own copy. Did you get a copy of it? They're right there at the front. Patrick, you get some. Benny, you got one, right? Yeah. Benny. Put aside your drawing, read along with us. Thank you, sir. Okay, so the first poem is powerful, and it talks about the horrors of being a refugee. And you've seen it in the news for years. People living in refugee camps, they're leaving the countries they came from and having to deal with all of that. It is a stark, powerful poem. And we're going to read that first. And then a lot of people clicked on this poem in their research. It's called Young, or You're Too Young, for Generation Z, World Issues. So we're going to read both of those, and you'll be able to pick from these whichever one you want to write about. For you to pull quotes from, you can, of course, click on them and open up those same links that I'm using. You'll be able to see them. All right, let's do Home first. Once again, this is a strong poem. It's got some language that I'm not going to use. I'll edit it, but you can read it as I'm reading it. You'll see what it really says. Home. No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. You only run for the border when you see the whole city running as well. Your neighbors running faster than you breathe bloody in their throats. The boy you went to school with, who kissed you dizzy behind the old tin factory, is holding a gun bigger than his body. You only leave home when home won't let you stay. No one leaves home unless home chases you, fire under feet, hot blood in your belly, and it's not something you ever thought of doing until the blade burnt threats into your neck. And even then, you carried the anthem under your breath, only tearing up your passport in an airport toilet, sobbing as each mouthful of paper made it clear that you won't be going back. You have to understand, no one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land. No one burns their palms under trains, beneath carriages. No one spends days and nights in the stomach of a truck, feeding on newspaper, unless the miles traveled means something more than the journey. No one crawls under fences. No one wants to be beaten, pitied. No one chooses refugee camps or strip searches where your body is left aching, or prison, because prison is safer than a city of fire, and one prison guard in the night is better than a truckload of men who look like your father. No one could take it. No one could stomach it. No one's skin would be tough enough. The go-home blacks, refugees, dirty immigrants, asylum seekers, sucking our country dry, people with their hands out, they smell strange, savage, messed up their country, and now they want to mess up ours. How do the words, the dirty looks, roll off your backs? Maybe because the blow is softer than a limb torn off. Or the words are more tender than 14 men trying to use you. Or the insults are easier to swallow than rubble, than bone, than your child body in pieces. I want to go home, but home is the mouth of a shark. Home is the barrel of the gun, and no one would leave home unless home chased you to the shore, unless home told you to quicken your legs, leave your clothes behind, crawl through the desert, wade through the ocean, drown, Save, be hunger, beg, forget pride. Your survival is more important. No one leaves home until home is a sweaty voice in your ear saying, leave, run away from me now. I don't know what I've become, but I know that anywhere is safer than here. That's by Warsan Shire. You can find her poem on the link there. God, such powerful language, such stark imagery, such gritty details. Something to think about. All right, the next poem, Generation Z is Too Young by Paige Erickson. And a lot of people picked this one. And once we start reading, you'll see why. Generation Z is too young. You say I'm too young to be a feminist, too young to know my own sexuality, too young to be depressed, too young to hate, too young to protest, too young to be an activist, too young, too stupid, too naive. And you're right, I am too young. Too young to be scared of bullets ricocheting through my school, embedding themselves into my fellow students, and having to watch as the light from my best friend's bright, warm eyes flicker out into a cold blackness. A deep feeling hits me, knowing that I will never hear her laugh and see her smile that could light up the room. Knowing that I can't apologize for the stupid fight we had. I can't tell her I love her one last time. Too young to be scared of what will happen to me as I walk home alone in shorts and a t-shirt. I can feel his eyes staring me down as I walk past. I should have waited for my friend so I wouldn't be alone, but no. Now whatever happens to me is my fault. Too young to be scared of finding my close friend dead in the dark, sticky pool of her crimson blood because that was better than living, or finding her body cold and in a daze as she crams candy-colored pills down her throat to make the pain go away. Too young to understand that she was bullied to where living wasn't an option, and that I was too late to stop her. Too young to be scared to see the familiar face of my 13-year-old friend who was black and looked older than he did, and then soon to find out that he was shot dead by the white middle-aged cop who shot him out of self-defense. But my friend was unarmed. Or when my friend was killed for being Muslim and having a suspicious bag and having the police say they thought he was a terrorist, when all he wanted to do was go home and give his sick mother her birthday gift. But all she got was a notice that her son wouldn't come home. Too young to be scared for my LGBT friends who just wanted love and acceptance, but were killed, rejected, unloved, and sent to conversion camps because they are just disgusting sinners or just confused. Oh, it's just a phase, they say. Oh, hey, my friend is back from conversion camp, but she doesn't know my name anymore. Too young to mourn over people so dear to me that were killed and died because no one heard their cries, or no one bothered to hear anyway. No one would help because their cries were fake, and they're too young to know real pain. Too young to be bruised, bloody, and beaten by a war I didn't even start or choose to partake in. You say I'm too young, and you're not wrong. I am too young. But you cannot blame me for my hyper-awareness of our reality. My generation was born with access to information by the click of a button, and we have been told to sit and be silent because the adults are talking. But you had your chance. It is now our turn to speak, and it's our turn to fight, because our rage is fire. And with every ragged breath we take, our lungs burn with all the hate and pain and misery that is engraved in our picture of today's society. You say we are too sensitive because we are just emotional teens that can't handle our own feelings, therefore not being valid to have an opinion. But you can no longer invalidate our claims because we shout for change, because the death of our classmates and the blood of our friends paved a path for our revolution. Your generation may have won the battles, but my generation will win this war. My generation will bring peace because we grew up in a world where hate and discrimination is a must, and it's time for change. Wow, what a powerful poem. Once again, the language, the syntax, the way she created it, whichever poem you pick, right, you've got something powerful to write about. So once again,